So at this time, we'd like to welcome MASB CEO and Managing Partner of Prescient, Joanna Seddon.
Actually, first of all, I have a question for the SMU representatives here. So, you talk quite a bit about the customer engagement, about retailing. I know, about Venki and AI, of course. But the thing I was wondering is how much does what you do in marketing touch on analytics, and in particular the link between marketing and finance? And is there any cooperation between, the financial department and the marketing department? I don't know who wants to answer that.
All sense that we co-teach, but in our degree programs, metrics plays a very large role. I think that anyone who's taught an graduate intro marketing class, most students don't know what marketers do. And so analytics play a very large role. And they're also very surprised that we deal with metrics and analytics and accountability. But then I tell all the students that you're going to have to go to the finance folks for money, and they want to net present value everything. So you better have some metrics.
Okay, great.
So just to add to that, I pitch all of our undergraduate and graduate business administration students on the marketing major, and I'm sure I don't do it as well as I might, but I always talk to them about the revenue driving role of marketing, and it's clear from the approach that you take that it is the revenue driver for the firm, and as such, it's important to executive leadership and to financing whatever projects the uses. And then I put up equations, and I apologize for being a reformed engineer, but I talk about revenue and profit, and it's not far from the way we think about the role of marketing.
Great, because we are, I know we were,
Even the Briley Institute of Customer Engagement and the academic curriculum that we have, Joanna, we all teach them really the value of the customer, the value of the customer to the firm, how to manage customer relationships using financial metrics. So we are in many ways very deeply rooted to what MASB is currently doing.
Great. That's really good to know. I know when we the last conference we had at Rutgers, and they were instituting a special sort of work stream within and stream of teaching within the marketing department of the business school, focused on really metrics and accountability and linking marketing to money. So I was just wondering, what the role was here. So anyway, my job as CEO is to tell you about two things. One is why MASB is important and why it is more important in this time of disruption into which we've moved than ever before. And I think, how I view it, which was something, it doesn't come from me, something I read somewhere which really struck me, is it goes back, of course, to the ancient Greeks. The ancient Greeks had a definition of time going in series of waves, and by their definition, where we have been in since some point in the 19th century up until very recently is what the ancient Greeks called chronos time. So it's like, time by the clock. You check in, your day goes, click, 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 you check out at the end. and your life is predictable and expected. It used to be, you went and got your education, you got a job, you worked in that job for your life. At some point, you got married, you had a house with a white picket fence or whatever, and you had children. And that was how time ran. It's not like that anymore. We've done a lot of work on Gen Z and Gen Alpha, and they are different. They have this angst because there are no goalposts. They can't afford to buy, they don't see no possibility of being afford to buy houses. People change jobs all the time. Jobs are less and less fixed, more and more peripatetic. And, that's just in everyday life. So everyday life is unpredictable, goes round and round. And look at the political arena. That's been pretty stable too. It was, post Second World War, predictability, liberal democracy, general progress in one particular direction. And that's all changed. We have wars, we have dictators, we have, all sorts of disruption going on, not least in this country. So from a marketing point of view, that is hugely important. I think we heard that brands are can be stability in the time of that. They are also vulnerable. They can get attacked, they can misstep, they can get worried, they can run. There is this big lack of authenticity in brands today, which actually started with, the Me Too and Black Lives Matter. Everybody had to jump on the DEI bandwagon. There were some brands who took it very seriously, for whom it's part of who they are, part of their essence. And there are some brands who just jumped on it because they thought they had to pay lip service to it and just did it. Now what is happening? It's really the change in the environment is sorting out the sheep from the goats. There are majority of brands who are fleeing DEI, dumping their programs because they're afraid. And then there are few brands, Costco is one, Patagonia is another, who are staying with it. We'll talk a bit more about that in a moment. But really what that means is that, there is the potential to turn disruption into brand and marketing opportunities and to raise the role of marketing. And we need MASB. The secret is linking it to money, and MASB can help you seize it. The other topic, I'll talk a bit more about that. The other topic I want to touch on, because quite often in these events we have deep dives into different aspects of the priority initiatives and ongoing initiatives that MASB is undertaking. There's so much else on the agenda this time. We don't have much of that. So I want to give everybody an update and ask for input on the initiatives that we have on. So, on the first topic, I think this sums it up. The world has gone bananas. So this is a picture, you all know about this, I think, of the banana duct taped to a wall, which, the artist, he's a well-known prankster. He created it as a joke. It's not the first time he's done this. It was bought by a Chinese cryptocurrency investor who's made a lot of money, clearly, for 6.2 billion, who then took it off the wall and ate it. And that kind of sums up what these times feel like. It's nuts. Bananas. So that is, the fascinating time into which we've moved, a world of increased risk and a world of increased opportunity if you handle it right. So, there are two kinds of brands. There are brands, as I said a minute ago, who have jumped on the bandwagon, who have ditched and very publicly announced it, their, DEI programs, because they're afraid of retribution from the administration. They include some, fabulous, iconic brands, one of which is at least speaking here today: Pepsi, Google, Uber, Ford, Lowe's, and Walmart. They've all retreated, right? What you can see already, and Jim Meyer, who unfortunately couldn't be here today, who is our treasurer and a real finance expert, but he was for a long time a leader in the finance department at Molson Coors. So he knows his beer. And he, with Frank, have written a number of articles, white papers, which has constantly been updated on the Bud Light debacle, which is, a truly wonderful example of how, by getting it wrong, you can destroy a lot of value, and you can get it wrong either way. In Bud Light, the way they got it wrong is that they kind of forgot that their heartland, their core consumer, is middle America redneck males who are not, huge enthusiasts of DEI and transgender. They strayed from their brand. They portrayed and featured a transgender representative, really destroyed the integrity and authenticity of their brand. It also revealed a major weakness in the brand, because the brand was not really differentiated. The competing beers taste pretty much the same. It was all about the differentiation. The reason why they'd been market leader for so long was the brand. And they destroyed that integrity of their reputation by moving away from their core base. And they destroyed business. They are now number 3, or possibly they've even sunk to number 4. Dr. Frank, number 3 or number 4 they are now?
No, they were at number 3 right now.
They're number 3. But, and what Jim identified as people had been talking about a boycott. Well, it's not a boycott. A boycott is, it's like when, certainly in the UK, when I remember way back, there were boycotts under Pinochet in Chile of Chilean grapes. And that meant as soon as, Pinochet was gone and things changed, we all went back to eating Chilean grapes. But this is not a boycott, it is a divorce. So they will not return. There's no reason to return. The reason to stay was the brand, their loyalty to the brand, the kind of cupboard of memories that it had in their heads, and that's gone. So that shows you just how important financially brand is to a business, and just how important it is to keep to the integrity of their brand. And now we have another one, which is, getting into trouble for going the wrong way. So we have Target, which, part of their brand has been, inclusivity. And they have publicly ditched their programs. And now, there's a pastor who is leading what he calls a 40-day Target fast. People boycotting Target. Is it as bad as what happened to Bud Light? No. But again, what this shows that jumping on the bandwagon, moving away from your brand, your purpose and what you stand for, following the herd, may protect sales in the short term. Will it protect, Google, Uber and Pepsi from retribution? Yes. Does it bring the risk of destroying value in the longer term? Yes. So it is a very clear, I think, message of how you need to be careful in marketing, in destroying value, in disruption, and by taking the rights, by remaining true to yourself, whether it's one way or the other way, you can add value. What does staying authentic do? It reinforces the trust, particularly if you're standing up for your values when they're not the values of the moment, the values of your brand, and it builds lasting value. And here are some examples of companies that are not jumping on the bandwagon, but that have publicly announced that they are not changing their stance on, diversity and inclusion. They're remaining true to it. And look at those brands. Talk about iconic brands. We have Apple, we have Costco, we have Microsoft, transformed under Nadella, and now true to its brand. We have Patagonia, of course, and all sorts of others, from JP Morgan, from financial services to airlines to Coca-Cola to Cisco. So it doesn't matter what industry you're in. It's equally important whether you're B2B or B2C or B2B2C or whatever, to remain true to your brand in times of things, disruption, chaos, kairos time, to go back to the ancient Greeks. Here are some good examples. Staying true to your brand is the only way to create lasting value. So this is why MASB is now more important than ever. You have to understand, to be successful, companies need to look at the impact of brand and business decisions. They go together because brand is brought to life through everything the business does. They have to look at the impact of their decisions on short-term sales and lasting value creation. And here is a famous chart from one of the most famous charts in marketing, I think, from the work called The Long and the Short of It, of Les Binet and Peter Field, the IPA in the UK. And what they showed, and there are actually metrics to this, that if you look at the value created by investment in marketing, for the marketing dollars that you put in, 60% of the value that brand and marketing creates is longer term. It's lasting value. And 40% is impact on driving immediate sales. And of that 40%, half, so 20% of the total, is what you'd expect. It's immediate, it's direct marketing, it's promotional sales, buy one, get one free, whatever. Yeah. And the other 20% is actually brand impacts, lasting, longer term and short term in the immediate moment. So if you look at the value of investment in marketing, about 80% is actually driven by brand. And people don't think that way. They think in the moment, they think about, next quarter's results, whether they're going to make their goals and what Wall Street is going to say, what their investors are going to say. They don't think about this. But I think right now it is more important than ever that marketers understand that and look at, the object lesson of Bud Light of what not staying true to your brand and its purpose can do for you. And there is one of my favorite charts from the MASB white paper on the Bud Light divorce. Look at the sales. That was the sales drop, right? It's not coming back. So this is why brand matters, because brand and marketing drive financial results more than people in the company realize. And that really goes to the heart of what MASB is about, is making the link between brand, investment in marketing, and financial and business results, and providing simple and easy tools for marketers to use to prove, the financial impact of what they do. So that's, it's a kind of object lesson and message, I think, to everybody. So providing the proof is where MASB comes in. MASB is dedicated to making marketing accountable. So what does MASB do? It helps companies make the brand and marketing choices which will make the most money by demonstrating their business and financial results. And I have to start every single summit that we have has to begin by returning and reminding everybody of why we're here, why MASB exists, why it matters. So I don't care how many times I go over this at summits. It needs to be, it's our mission, our vision, our starting point, and we need to start there. Our purpose is to elevate the Chief Marketing Officer, and with it marketing, to their rightful place at the boardroom by making marketing accountable. As Dave said, it's marketing that drives growth. It's marketing that creates the revenue stream. Stop focusing on the supply chain boards. Stop putting just, accountants and operating guys, the supply chain people on the boards. Supply chain's played out, right? McKinsey, Bain and the like have been going over it with tooth combs for years, removing all the extra magazines from the executive rooms and that kind of thing. That's done. So it's about driving revenues. If you look at recent surveys of CEOs, what is the CEO's number one priority today? Growth. And that's where marketing comes in. So, the role of marketing is so important. It needs to be put back in the place where it should be. And that is why we exist. So what are we going to, what's our role? What are we trying to do? Making marketing accountable by uniting the profession behind standards and principles which show how investment in marketing creates revenue and profit growth. It is the important bit, which CEOs, CFOs, and boards recognize as robust. And you can show, people outside the marketing department, your CEOs, the CFOs, market research results, which may show the same things. But you can do that till the cows come home and they won't listen. They only listen to numbers. It's numbers that matter. So that's why we're around. So this isn't just about benefiting companies. It's also about benefiting society. Because if we are about growth, we're also about new sources of growth, innovations, progressing society forward, helping people, helping societies prosper and individuals thrive. And this is why we believe that every company should be involved in MASB. And that's our goal. And we're making progress. Nothing like enough. But we're constrained. We all work like crazy, but we're making progress. And here's our full vision. We accomplished a lot in 2024. We are going to deliver more results in 2025. And how do we do it? as I think Dave said, it's, you know, other marketing organizations are about, usually they're about, mainly about one type of constituent. Their stakeholders are either, you know, companies, the marketing departments of companies, or they are agencies, or they are researchers and analytics experts. MASB is about everything. It's about collaborating across marketing, finance, and analytics, so that we are looking at the whole, we're pooling knowledge to create unified practices, start to finish. MASB is about thought leadership. But one of the great benefits of membership is that you can get behind the firewall on the MASB website, and it's a treasure trove of IP, more than you could imagine. So we, you know, really encourage those of you who are members to, you know, go and look at it more, and those of you who aren't, to join so that you can get to see it and benefit from it. So we are leading the charge on the development and publication of US and global standards for brand valuation, evaluation, and marketing measurement through our involvement in the ISO. We'll talk about that in a minute. We have a certification, you'll see more about that, of marketers, which is incredibly popular right now. We provide advice. MASB is not a consulting organization. We don't tell companies what to do, but we provide advice on what's the best way in applying marketing measurement and accountability. Not telling them what the answer is, how they should change their business. We can recommend people to do that, but we provide objective third-party advice from the best experts in the field. And, you know, Dave talked about the finance in marketing course. We share our knowledge. It's about educating everybody. Do a bit more about that. And what are we trying to do in 2025? We have 7 key goals. Deliver more results from each of our 6 priority initiatives. Power ahead with the core projects which lie at the foundation of MASB, linking marketing to money. Driving our marketing and communications ahead, bringing more people into the fold. Expanding our membership, especially for finance directors. We need more. Delivering more tailored benefits for individual members. We've made a lot of progress on that. Extending our partnerships with related organizations in the US and internationally, and we made a lot of progress in that. We have, you know, people involved in our projects from Germany, Australia. We have new relationships with WARC and the IPA in the UK. We need to do more, and we need to raise our profile, exponentially increase our awareness. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not shy, you know, we have big goals. And this is how we're doing it. We have groundbreaking thought leadership, which we want to deliver. This isn't about events, holding events. This is about doing real new research and analytics to develop new tools which marketers could use. So it's about real tackling the tough challenges that other people don't want to do in marketing. That's really why we exist and why we were founded. And here are some of our existing core projects and our priority initiatives. So we'll talk a bit about some of these just very quickly to bring you up to date. There's a lot of enthusiasm behind our measuring the financial and economic impact of creativity initiative. What's this about? It's demonstrating the business and financial impact of great creativity and delivering a model that will enable people to measure the business and financial impact of creative campaigns to produce something that's useful, that companies can use. As you can see, we've got a lot of participants, and they are from across the board. We have lots of associations. We have academics, we have creative agencies, we have research agencies, including Kantar, who are here. And we have headings fallen off, but we have brands. We have Mondelez, we have Coca-Cola, and we are adding more marketers in the stage in which we've got. And any ideas anybody has on companies who, are concerned about really proving and demonstrating the business impact of creativity as opposed to promotional marketing and defending those budgets, we'd like to get them involved. Where we are, we've done the literature review, an absolutely stellar piece of work led by Dave and the academic team. We have defined creativity, quite an accomplishment. What we discovered is lots of people measure marketing creativity, but actually nobody defines what they're measuring. And if you go back, it's usually some award. Well, that goes back to the, the views of the judges, select panel of judges giving awards, who are usually creatives themselves, not necessarily the best judges. So we've defined it. We defined what we're measuring. We've identified a preliminary set of guidelines and metrics, principles, what makes great creative. And now we are starting to validate the initial set of findings by benchmarking creative campaigns. So Mondelez and Coca-Cola are actually quite advanced in collecting data from their campaigns, which we can use to prove it out. And again, we need to expand that to more companies. What are we trying to achieve? The creativity gets the respect and budget it needs by demonstrating its business and financial impact. It's no longer the first thing that gets cut when times are tough. This is just some of the examples. The white paper is the academic team did such a brilliant piece of work. There's inputs that go on for 6 pages of terribly small print about all the sources they've reviewed. So it's completely incredible. And they won't stop. At some point, we were able to red flag and said, if you don't stop, we're never going to get the work done. So we're going to stop anyway. But they're still going on. It's already a white paper. I think it's going to be a Harvard Business School article. They're talking about a book. So really started something there. We've defined creativity. In the marketing context, creativity is originality and effectiveness, which means it has both an emotional and a business impact. So, creativity in sort of science is about the business impact. Creativity in art is about the emotional impact. Marketing is really both. That's why it's an exciting profession. It's why you will hear someone like Mark Pritchard at P&G say, the reason I'm in marketing, I could be in, another executive function. The reason I do marketing and I love it is because we are not only driving the company forward, it is the frisson I get, the back of my neck, when I see a piece of great creative. It's the emotional reaction. Really put it brilliantly. And we've identified 6 dimensions, 3 which measure originality, 3 which measure effectiveness, and primary metrics. There are sub-metrics because it's like, obviously the strategic objective is going to change depending on what it is. So we have defined the metrics which we are going to test, and we are off testing. That's just to show you how there's some real thinking. The economic impact of brand and marketing. Nick, I don't know if you want to comment quickly on that one.
Yes, this is kind of central to what MASB's mission is. And as we've all been talking about, marketing is a primary driver of revenues. It creates choice, it influences, customer decisions. And yet some of the processes through which marketing works, the idea of building brands, the idea of developing customer relationships are kind of intricate processes. They don't necessarily have immediate impact. So while the costs of marketers are very visible at the board level, their impact is not. So this initiative is really about implementing a best practices approach to measuring the economic impact of brand in marketing. And we have a large number of participants, many of whom are in this room here, as well from the academic world, from marketers, associations, and agencies as well. So the work steps on this have been to identify an initial set of metrics that would be relevant to measure the economic impact, do a lot of foundational research in terms of what has already been done from an IT perspective in this area. And we're actually in the process now of identifying case studies and gathering data to be able to come up with some of these principles and relationships that we want to develop. So where we are in this process is actually actively recruiting marketer participants for data and metrics that they may have. There's some active discussions with companies like Visa, Bottomline, Mondelez, the Coca-Cola Company, and some other prospects in terms of marketer participants. So this is also generally an open call for any marketer out there who might be willing to participate in some of these data trials with us. Please do come forward. Let me or Frank know if you're interested. The overall outcomes of this initiative is, to come up with standards of measurement equivalent to those that are in the financial management world to help demonstrate the economic impact. This is just a preliminary work that the team has been doing, identifying key metrics. There's a lot of metrics on the left. The ones with the check marks are the ones that are more preferred. Discounted cash flow obviously should be the one that will be the primary, hopefully one that demonstrates the economic impact. Various team members have been playing around with models of what to do. Once the data starts coming in, we will flesh out exactly what the modeling approach is going to be. So that's where we are on this one.
And this is the foundation of MASB. This is not a relatively new priority initiative. It is the foundation of what MASB is about. So it's about generating practical guidance for financially valuing marketing outcomes, and in doing so, encourage adherence to the ISO standards for regular brand. It's really valuation and evaluation. As you can see, we have some great participants. And Dave, I don't know if you want to comment briefly on it.
Part of the issue that we confront in marketing is a general lack of respect in the boardroom, and there's real need for us to make a better case for the value that we add. It is remarkable to me that marketing, which is responsible for demand generation and revenue generation, doesn't get respected among those who are managing the organization. And that's documented in a variety of ways. Less than 3% of board members have marketing backgrounds. You have to ask yourself, if you have a discipline responsible for demand generation, why aren't they represented on boards? And by the way, there's some good survey data on this that speaks to the issue. We don't have a lot of credibility. And so what I think the issue really is for us as MASB is really figuring out how we're going to demonstrate, maybe not demonstrate, articulate what we do in a way that's important for the firm, and by the way, I might add for society as a whole, because I believe a lot of what's happening in the political arena right now is also related to a lack of understanding of demand generation. We have a lot to contribute, but we got to figure out how we're going to do that. And so there are issues around the financial value of brands, but there's a broader issue here as well. And that's how a society goes about providing for itself in an effective and efficient way. And I think that's what MASB is about. And I think we have several presentations over the course of the rest of the day that are really going to begin to get at that issue. And I would encourage us to think broadly about the question of how we can better articulate what our contributions are to the firm and to the broader societal political debate that is now occurring. I think we have a lot to contribute, and I'm still baffled. Mark and I had this conversation this morning. I'm still baffled at why we are not integral to those kinds of conversations in the firm and in the larger arena. That may have gone slightly astray, but
No,
I really obviously agree with that, and I did 400 and almost 500 interviews with Fortune 2000 CEOs and CFOs about their views on go-to-market. They're not all correct, right? I mean, obviously, but the big issue, the big takeaway out of a lot of it was they don't have a problem with like how people do marketing and the creative aspect or this or that or the other, right? They don't get all in a twist about, are we using this kind of sales strategy or that kind of sales strategy? As long as it's working, right? Where they really are extremely frustrated is in the way that marketing and sales both, and it's equally both, right? Do such a crappy job explaining why they do what they do, justifying it, using analytics appropriately to connect all the dots up, right? It's what might be called in the old days the business case, right? It's just not there. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about tomorrow is a huge ruling in Delaware in 2023 that really is changing the game on that. You won't be able to do that anymore. You just won't.
I think for this team in particular, one of the main points that their deliverable is that they're releasing a book. So a book is about to be released in a matter of days, which is actually kind of a plane-oriented book where you can have it when you're doing a plane flight and read it through on this particular topic. So we kept it really short and succinct, targeted at CEOs and CFOs in particular. And so that's one way I think this team is trying to go about innovative to try to short circuit that whole discussion point as to, why is marketing not being brought into these details. And so doing the financial value of that is the fundamental. So we've done quite a few different public releases and white papers and academic papers, but the financial value brands imperative book we hope will be a way of really generating demand from the CEOs and the CFOs.
let me make one more observation, and that is surveys consistently demonstrate that in most organizations, marketing does not have responsibility for pricing or distribution. And folks, if you don't have responsibility for pricing and distribution, there is no way you can influence the financial performance of a firm. And by the way, pricing and distribution are at the heart of why we have a marketing discipline. It's why it emerged back in the first half of the 20th century. And so somehow we have moved, now we're a communications function by and large. And most of the discussion of branding is around, we're going to work some magic with communications that somehow is going to create value for the firm.
I just want to add something to this because you've got to mention about the role that brand plays, Joanna, and some of the data references that is there. What we're going and seeing the conversations with a lot of the C-suite that we're talking to on our side, they are not giving enough acknowledgement to how much there's positive or negative inertia from two factors. One is category inertia, which is just how do people buy the category? And the second one is around their own brand inertia. And most transactions are happening because people were just buying it already. And then sales and marketing is giving too much attribution to near-term activities as the driver of revenue that they were going to get anyway. And usually what happens is stuff like what is going on right now with tariffs is everybody all of a sudden is having to figure out, wait, am I actually wanting to make this purchase decision? Because all of a sudden this bottle of champagne is now $300 instead of $100. And I know I'm just picking on specific categories here, but like the point of it is that until there's material disruption, people don't change their behavior. And a lot of what you're going and seeing in like what's coming out of the tech space is they're actually engineering disruption, which is having a portion of the population react because they hit on the right stimulus. But on the whole mass of the population, you don't see it. Like some of the stuff that I'm gonna be sharing on the panel today, you're gonna go and see. There's high momentum brands that everybody recalls, but their actual market share is garbage. Because it's gonna take them a while to disrupt enough people. So like you gotta figure out what is your base purchase, like why are people just buying as the basics? And that is a marketing function, which seems to have disappeared. Like I feel like we're going into like not even marketing 100. I feel like we're going to like grade 10 marketing and how businesses need to be taught internally. So that's just kind of like my mini rant on this, but it goes back to, I think there's a lot of value destruction that we're gonna go and see in the next 12 to 24 months because people don't actually understand why their businesses make money. So.
Yeah, the thing that I would just say that's really super consonant with that, right, is that the definition of a really good causal model on anything is what gets closest to real life, right? Because you'll never get perfect, right? 70% of that model is always going to be stuff you don't control. If we look at the way that marketing or go-to-market effectiveness has eroded over the last, say, 6 years, it just hit this month, just hit 40%. So 40% in B2B go-to-market, okay, is ineffective spend. Okay, that's a to put it in perspective, 6 years ago, it was half that. Right? That is almost entirely due to externalities that go unidentified and unaddressed by the go-to-market team. So it speaks to the fact that a lot of marketing is rote. And that's a huge problem. So I mean, when you throw AI into the mix and what it is likely to do on both sides of the playing field, buyer and seller, it's going to be immense change in the next 3 years.
Okay, so what I will say is that if anybody has the Bud Light brand divorce, read the white paper, and it's really fascinating and so instructive. But it also generated a huge amount of buzz for MASB. So I think Jim Meyer was interviewed twice by Barron's and quoted. Lots of publicity. So if anybody has any other similar things that we should be looking at, tariffs keeps coming up, maybe that's one, that we should be really looking at in a more thorough fashion than other people do, let us know, because that's what we're for. Yeah.
Tesla?
Tesla.
We-
Actually,
we're-
just
we're-
wrote a blog
I think
on
one of the really interesting parts about what you're talking about there is for about 30 years, a lot of business people did not have to take a lot of things into account, like war and peace.
Now they do.
And now they really do. I mean, they like really, really do. And a lot of them don't know how to deal with that.
Okay, so we're in trouble. We're out of time, so I'll skip through the others. Other key initiatives, sponsorship accountability. And we're going to hear more about marketing measurement, sports marketing measurement later. A lot of work has gone done. There is a publication, which is really a series of white papers on sponsorship accountability. So another, evidence of how MASB actually produces new things, new research. We have brand evaluation standards with ISO. I know, Eric, if you want to talk for just about 1 minute on that, because I'm in trouble again.
Well, MASB is playing a very critical role in the development of global brand evaluation standards through ISO. And in fact, we really are driving the process at this point. But we have a brand new tourism city standard has been adopted, and we're working on reviving or creating the original brand evaluation standard, and that's going to be reissued soon. So we're doing a lot of very important work on the international stage, and working with some very important groups, including China, which is
Navigating the Chinese is not easy, yes.
we have a good working relationship through that.
Okay. Universal Marketing Dictionary. This is one of the most successful things that MASB has ever done. It's been going on for a long time. And it is always evaluated as a team of experts. We need more experts. So anybody who is an expert in any particular aspect of marketing and wants to participate, we welcome new people. But what we do is add new terms as they come up. Ed?
I gotta put a plug. I somehow stumbled into being the chair of the language standardization for the brand evaluation standard. This is critical. Like, one of the things that we've just gone and seen is everybody has a different definition. We don't even have a common definition for marketing in the world. So yes, that is that cringeworthy. So one of the goals that we're trying to go and do from the standard is to get to that formal definition. Why is that critical? Because that standard is the basis for the boardroom reporting standard in America. And if we go and connect the three together, you will now have a common set of definitions that boardrooms would be referring to, which goes back to what is going to be spoken about by Mark tomorrow morning, which is your fiduciary duty. What were you actually spending your money on, good sir or madam, in your fiduciary role in the company? And if you can't go and articulate it, you go and have a material breach on fiduciary duty. So this is going to take some time, but considering that, as I said, like, the tariff situation is the perfect storm. Everybody now is needing to understand the composition of revenue by parts, and nobody gave a damn about this 6 months ago. So, and definition is at the core of understanding your revenue by parts.
So we should talk about this. So we define creativity, let's define marketing. It's great. This is on a roll. Our certification and marketing metrics, both for agencies and now also for companies, it's free with membership. It is hugely popular, right? Poor Frank and the team have been killing themselves because they're trying doing so many at once, and you really have to know what you're doing in order to do this. So this is the team. Karen, we are so delighted to have you back, right? Karen is critical, but has been off ill, so we're thrilled she's here. So we are working like crazy on this. Yep. So that is it. Now we also have, I'll just touch on, since Neil is here, right? I haven't got a chart on sustainability, but we have a new sustainability initiative, which wasn't originally we had 5, and then somehow the winds of change were such that we had to add 6. It was supposed to be baked into everything. Now it's been pulled out because it's so important. So Neil is leading that. Pam, who's unfortunately minding a bunch of children because it's spring break, is leading one on marketing organization, which Dave touched on, how the root of this is that the way marketing is organized in companies, which is all over the place, half the time it has the responsibility, but not the authority. Budget lies somewhere else. So that's another important initiative. Both of those are newer, getting underway. So again, volunteers are welcome.